सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं परमानन्दमाधवम्। So yesterday we had seen an introduction to Narada Bhakti Sutra. This is a text which glorifies devotion as the greatest and easiest means to attain God. And this text is composed by none other than Naradji, who is very famous as a devotee of God. It's a very simple text dealing with devotion. So yesterday we had seen the first sutra of this text. What does this first sutra say? Ataha bhaktim vyakhyāsyāmaha. Now, therefore, we shall expound the philosophy of devotion. So why this study is important? This study is important because bhakti is an unavoidable means in attaining Bhagavan. Therefore, let us study this. Now that we have understood the importance of this text, therefore, let us study this. So now what is the first and the most important thing? The first and most important thing is bhakti has to be defined. What is bhakti? Because since we are going to deal with devotion, we are going to deal with bhakti, so first this term has to be defined. What is bhakti? So now the next verse gives the definition of bhakti. Sutra number 2. Satu asmin parama prema rupa. Yes. Sa. That. What is that? That devotion which is under discussion. What is his nature? Rupa. What is his nature? Prema Rupa. It is of the nature of love. So what is bhakti? It is of the nature of love. What kind of love? Parama Prema Rupa. It is of the nature of supreme love, greatest love, highest love. So naturally whenever this question comes love, the question will be towards whom? So therefore to asmin. Asmin means to this. Love towards this. Now the question is, what is this? So we have to understand this God. God term has not been used. What is used? This. Supreme love for this. Sa, that bhakti. Tu. Tu means indeed. Tu means but. Both these meaning can go for tu. Sa tu asmin parama prema rupa. This bhakti is of the nature of supreme devotion unto this. So why this term this is used? This is used to indicate that God is very, very, very near to us. Whenever we say this, what does it imply? It implies nearness. Whenever we say that, what does it imply? It shows distance, isn't it? That shows distance, this shows nearness. So asmin, in this God which is so very near to you. So those who are the students of Vedanta, they know who is this God. Who is this God? He is the very self in us. He is the very I in us. He is the very consciousness in us. So therefore, this consciousness is the nearest to us. Even to say the term near is wrong. It is we ourselves. But in the path of bhakti, we love to keep a distance from ourselves, from God. We keep a distance. Why? Only then the love is possible. As Ramakrishna Paramsa used to say, I don't want to become sugar, I want to become ant to enjoy the sugar. So there is a slight difference in the language which the devotional texts use. The language which the knowledge texts use, that language is different. It is the language of the head. This is the language of the heart. Whatever be the language, the thing is the same. So you must be able to understand the Vedantic meaning also, and you must be able to revel in the devotional meaning also. Then only that study of the text is complete. So, this is the supreme love unto whom? Unto this God, who is the very self in you. Now, a term is used, tu. So, what did we study yesterday? As far as a sutra is concerned, even the word tu should not be used unless it has a purpose. Has it been used purposelessly? No. It goes against the tradition of writing sutra. So therefore the question is, why that tu has been added? Sa tu asmin. So the first meaning of tu is indeed. Indeed means what? This indeed is the definition of devotion. It is definitely true. Indeed. One meaning. What is the other meaning? Tu can also be used in the term but. This but is the supreme love for God. Devotion is but the supreme love for God. But means what? Now, the comparison is with the worldly love. So the divine love is compared with worldly love. So whenever we say devotion, of course it is prema rupa, it is of the nature of love. Now what is the kind of love which we are exposed to? What is the kind of love which we are aware of? We are aware of the worldly love, the love which we have towards our parents, that which we have towards our children, that which we have towards our spouse. Varieties of love we are exposed to in this world. We will call it worldly love, based on some worldly relationship. So now, what does Naradji say? This love is different from that love. Tu means but. When do we use but? When there is a difference of opinion. So when you hear prema rupa, naturally the idea will be, oh, this love, I know. I know because I have experienced all these kind of love. Naradji says, wait a minute. This love is not that love. There is a difference. The love which we are aware of, this love is little different from that. In what way is it different? Difference number one, the love, the worldly love which you know, it is not supreme love. It can never be supreme. It can never be highest. No doubt there is love, but it can never be supreme. It can never be the highest. Whereas this love is the highest, is the greatest. You can't even think of a greater love than this. It is impossible. Are you able to understand? There is a difference. Worldly love is limited love. This love is limitless love. Worldly love is inferior love. This love is a superior love. This is the meaning that Tu. Also, as far as the worldly love is concerned, this love is directed towards the world, towards the worldly objects, towards the worldly beings. But this love is directed towards Asmin, this God. There is a difference. There is a difference in intensity. There is a difference in direction. One love is directed towards the world, the other love is directed towards God. So, tu. There is a difference. Sa tu asmin parama prema rupa. That's all? No. Little more I have to add. So therefore, the next sutra, which adds a little more information about this love. Verse number 3. Amrita Swarupacha. Sutra is over. What is this love? So earlier, the pointer given was, this love is supreme, parama prema rupa. This love is directed towards God, pointer number 2. And now, third one, this love is Amrita Swarupa. It is of the nature of immortality. It is immortal. It is imperishable. This love is something which doesn't perish. Unlike the worldly love. Tu. There's a difference. As far as the worldly love is concerned, it will have ups and downs. Someday it began, there is a possibility someday it will end. All worldly loves are conditional loves. This is an unconditional love. There is no condition. So for infinite period of time, this love will continue. Sutra number 2 talks about the intensity of love. Sutra number 3 talks about the time duration of love. This love is infinite love for infinite period of time. It is not infinite love for some time. It is infinite love for infinite period of time. Amrita Swarupa. There is no mrita, there is no death for this love. There is no end for this love. This love doesn't perish. Unlike the worldly love which perishes. Yavad vitto parjana saktah tavan nija parivaro raktah pascha jivati jarjara dehe vartam prachati kopi nage. Isn't it? As long as a person is able to earn, all the family members will respect him, love him. But the day when he becomes old, retired, no money, no health, no power, what happens? In his own house, he will be neglected. So this is called conditional love. There is a condition, therefore you are being loved. This is the nature of worldly love. In this world, whatever love, whatever respect you get, there is a condition. You are beautiful, therefore you are being loved. You are powerful, therefore somebody loves you. There is something in you because of which people love you. And the day when that something goes away, love also ends. So this is called as conditional love. Love because of. Because of something, you are loved. This love is different. There is no condition involved. And because there is no condition, this love is infinite. For infinite period of time. I heard a very interesting incident. So there was this man who was after this lady. She was an actress. And this man was extremely fascinated, infatuated by this lady. He was running after her only. And she understood that this man is behind me. So one day she called him. Both of them sat together. And she said, "Do you really love me?" He said, Yeah. She asked, what is it that because of which you love me? He said, your hair is beautiful, your teeth is beautiful, especially these two things. It's so beautiful. She said, wait a minute. She removed the wig. She removed the denture, kept it in front of him on the table. This is what you love? Take it. That man ran away from there. This is a real incident. What I am trying to say is this. This is called as conditional love. You loved a person because of something, and when that something went away, that love also ended. It is not Amrita Sarupa, it is Mrita Sarupa only. Isn't it? This love is not that. Amrita Sarupa. Infinite love for infinite period of time. What is the kind of love we experience in the world? Finite love, conditional love for a very small period of time. In the film and all they sing, Hamara pyar amar hai and all that. But there is no pyar which is amar, impossible. A love which depends on a perishable entity like the body, mind, intellect. How can a love which depends on a perishable thing can be imperishable? Simple logic. This love, this bhakti is imperishable because Bhagavan is imperishable. This bhakti is imperishable because Bhagavan is an embodiment of all virtues. So therefore it is possible. But as far as the world is concerned, it is impossible to have such a kind of love, which is Parama Prema Rupa, which is Amrita Sarupa. Not possible. If this condition has to be satisfied, it can be possible only and only with God. Otherwise it's not possible. In fact, we can say that one of the reasons why this beautiful world is created is only to acquaint ourselves with an inferior love so that we are capable of appreciating the superior love. Unless we know the inferior love, we will never be able to appreciate the superior love. Love is not something which you by heart the definition and you have understood. No, you have to experience it. It is something to be experienced. It is not something to be described or explained. No. Love is something to be experienced. So if I have to understand the superior love, first of all I have to understand the gross inferior love. That is one of the reasons why this world is created. First experience the lower, then you become fit to understand the higher. In fact, this is true with every field. If you have to understand the greatness of a musician, you yourself should know music. Yes or no? A person who doesn't know anything about music, he will never be able to appreciate the greatness of a musician, greatness of his music. In the same way in the sports also, to understand the greatness of a sports person, you must have some knowledge about sports. Otherwise you will never understand. So this is true with every field. In spirituality also, he is a great Mahatma. If you have to understand the greatness of that Mahatma, you should have moved, you should have done some sadhana. You must be at least a beginner in spirituality. Only then you will know the greatness of that spiritual person and his attainments. This is true with every field. First you have to come to the lower, then only you are qualified to understand the higher. So, this world is designed in such a way that we are exposed to all kinds of love. Different kinds of love with different flavors, different tastes, different relationships. We experience this love and slowly we come to understand the limitations of this love. And when we come to understand the limitations of love, deep down within, in our subconscious mind, we desire for a more perfect love. It is this desire in us. And how did the desire come? By the experience of imperfect love, we desire for a perfect love. And when we desire for a perfect love, we come to know that yes, it is possible, and it is only possible with God. So this world and all the kind of love relationships which we have in this world has its own place. It is important. And that's why family life is, in our Hindu Shastra, it is considered to be an unavoidable step in growing in spirituality. That's why that particular ashrama is there. What is after Brahmacharya ashrama? Brahmacharya ashrama, grihastha ashrama. Because it is in grihastha ashrama we experiment with all kinds of love. Grihastha ashrama is an ashrama meant to develop the heart. Brahmacharya ashrama is the ashrama which is meant to develop the head. So in the Gurukula, this child studies for 10-15 years. He has developed his head, but heart also has to be developed. So therefore he goes into grihastha ashrama. Only after going through grihastha ashrama, he experiments with all kinds of love. Then there is an intense craving to experience the higher love. And to experience that, he goes into the next stages, which is Vanaprastha and Sannyasa ashrama. So this is a step-by-step process. It is unavoidable. Right, now coming back. So what is being said? So what is bhakti? So what is the definition of bhakti? Bhakti is infinite love, supreme love for infinite period of time unto whom? Unto the Supreme Lord. This is called bhakti, devotion. Now the next question is, why should I cultivate it? What will happen to a person who has this kind of love towards God? So that topic is taken up. It is taken up in the beginning itself, so that unless we know what we are going to get, we will not be inspired to cultivate devotion unto God. What am I going to get with this kind of devotion? This question has to be answered. So therefore, actually verse number 4, 5, 6, they are these answers. Let us chant Sutra number 4. Yal labdhva puman siddho bhavati amrito bhavati tripto bhavati. Yes, yal labdhva, gaining which. This is the kind of devotion which one has to gain, the supreme love for God. What happens after gaining this? Puman, that person, siddho bhavati, he becomes perfect. Amrito bhavati, he becomes immortal. Tripto bhavati, he becomes totally contented, fulfilled, totally satisfied. So what are the terms used? Number 1, siddho bhavati. He becomes siddha. Who is a siddha? So these 5 terms go always together. Sadhaka, sadhana, sadhya, siddhi, siddha. All these terms come from the root sadh. Sadh means to accomplish, to achieve. Sadh. So who is a sadhaka? Sadhaka is a person who is having some sadhya, the goal. There is something to be achieved. So who is a sadhaka? Sadhaka is a person who is striving hard. That striving hard is called sadhana. So sadhaka is a person who has some goal, sadhya, to achieve. And to achieve that, he is putting forth effort. That effort is called sadhana. And once he has achieved that sadhya, he is called a siddha, the one who has achieved. The goal which is unachieved is called sadhya. once that goal is achieved, it is called Siddhi. So these are all the different terms from the same root, Sadh, to accomplish. So Yallabdhva Siddho Bhavati. He has achieved the purpose of life. He has achieved the highest goal of life, which is liberation, moksha. Yallabdhva Siddho Bhavati. Siddha also means a perfected being, one who has achieved perfection. A person who has achieved perfection is called a Siddha. So what has he achieved? In the language of knowledge, we say he has achieved his own self. And what is the nature of the self? It is Sat, Chit, Anand. Existence, consciousness, bliss, which itself is perfection. Our own true self is of the nature of perfection. Here is a person who has achieved this perfection. Achieved this perfection means what? Attained total identification with this perfection. In our state of ignorance, we are identified with the body. But in the state of knowledge, we are identified with this consciousness, which is already perfect. So such a person who has attained this is called a perfected being. In Bhagavad Gita, such a person is called a Sthita Prajna, man of study wisdom. So he has attained perfection. He has come to know that perfection is already my nature. I don't have to depend on the world to attain perfection. I am complete by myself. I am full, I am complete, I am perfect. There is nothing which has to be added to me to attain perfection. A person who has attained this state is called a Siddha. Now compare this person who has cultivated divine love, who becomes a Siddha. Compare it with a worldly person who has worldly love. What will be his experience? To know the glory of divine love, always we have to compare with the worldly love. A person who is in love with the world, what is his condition? You must be seeing all these people who are in love with each other, how they frame the sentence. I cannot even think of living without you. Isn't it? I am incomplete without you. So what has their worldly love given them? Completeness or incompleteness? You are in love with a person and you have become incomplete. You have become empty. You have become hollow. And that's why they call falling in love. It's not rising in love. Whereas this divine love takes you higher. It makes you perfect. It makes you complete. It makes you full. Whereas a worldly love, it makes you incomplete. A pauper, a beggar. Isn't it? What all things these Romeos do in order to win the heart. And what all things they lose. Very many times they lose their life also. Foolish people. Anyway, that is not the point here. The point is, just compare the one who has sought worldly love versus the one who has sought divine love. Compare. One destroys himself, the other one raises himself to the state of supreme perfection. Siddho bhavati. What is the next term? Amruto bhavati. A person who loves God, what happens to him? As they say, as your thoughts, so you will be. So here is a person who is constantly meditating on God. And what is the nature of God? God is of the nature of immortality. So when you meditate upon an immortal being, you also become that. A person who meditates on eternal consciousness becomes eternal. The nature of consciousness is Sat. It is existence. Existence means what? Immortality. The thing which can never become non-existent is called existence. Non-existence is death. Existence is life. Existence is immortality. So when you meditate upon this, you become that Brahmavit Brahmaiva bhavati. So such a person becomes immortal. His love is also immortal. He becomes immortal. Bhakti is Amrita Swarupa. What happens when a person cultivates bhakti? He becomes Amrita. What about the other person who develops worldly love? He becomes only Mrita. Because he is attached to somebody, he again and again comes back to the world. With what kind of body? With a mortal body. With a dying body. We are dying again and again in this world only because we are attached to the world. So what is this worldly love giving us? Constant death. Mrityosa mrityum gacchati, Upanishad say. He goes from death to death. The one who loves the world. Again and again coming back to this world means what? Again and again dying. So the person who chooses worldly love, he is choosing death. A person who chooses divine love, he is choosing deathlessness or immortality. Amruto bhavati. Then tripto bhavati. What happens to him? The person who has gained this divine love, what happens to him? Triptaha bhavati. Triptaha means what? Totally contented, totally satisfied, totally fulfilled. A deep sense of satisfaction which tells you, yes, the purpose of life has been fulfilled. The purpose for which I have come to this world, it has been fulfilled. That deep sense of satisfaction is called tripti. What is the expression of the tripti? That is what is explained in the next sutra. Sutra number 5. Yat prapya na kinchit vanchate na shochate na dveshte na ramate na utsahi bhavati. Yes, yat prapya, gaining that devotion. What happens to him? Na kinchit vanchati, he desires nothing. No, na shochati, he grieves not. Na dveshti, he doesn't hate. Na ramate, he doesn't revel. Na utsahi bhavati, he doesn't become enthusiastic. Now these are all the terms used for a person who is addicted to worldly love. As far as a worldly person is concerned, all these terms are absolutely applicable to him. So what is the general biography of a worldly person? Now let us use these terms. As far as a worldly person is concerned, what is the source of his happiness? The source of his happiness is the world. So what is his lifestyle? Whatever desires you have about the world, fulfill those desires. Because whenever your desires are fulfilled, there is happiness. Whenever your worldly desires are fulfilled, there is happiness. So therefore, what is the source of happiness? Whatever desires you have, fulfill it through the world by gaining the sense objects of the world. This is his philosophy of life. So what is the first term? Vanchati. A worldly person will have lots of desires and he will always try to fulfill those desires. That's the only happiness he knows. The happiness born out of fulfillment of desires. Vanchati. He desires. In fact, the desires he doesn't consider as a problem. He considers it as an opportunity to be happy. Because if you don't have desires, how will you be happy? Isn't it? So every desire is a wonderful opportunity to become happy. Vanchati. Then what? Utsahi bhavati. Now, when you have a desire, there is no guarantee that you will be able to fulfill the desire. But if you are in a position where you are able to fulfill that desire, then what kind of emotion rises in you? That emotion is called utsaham. enthusiasm. This object I want to make myself happy, and this object is within my reach. Little more effort and I will get it. So then what happens? That emotion is called utsaham. There is a lot of enthusiasm, vigor, passion, energy in order to get it. Because yes, I can get it. It is within my reach. Little more I have to stretch. Little more I have to put forth effort, and there it is. So what will be the intensity of utsaham? The intensity of this utsaha will depend upon the intensity of desire. Greater the desire, greater the utsaha. Utsaha can also mean anxiety, worry, tension. Everything is under utsaha only. All kinds of ups and downs, emotional turmoils can be called as this utsaha. There is a particular thing which I want to achieve. To the extent I value it, to the extent that object is important for me, to that extent I will have utsaham, enthusiasm to get it. Then what happens? Now there are only two options. What are the options? Either you will get it or you will not get it. When you get it, what happens? Ramate. See the term. Ramate. Revels. There is a reveling. You got what you wanted. There is a tremendous reveling. What do you mean reveling? Suppose a person gets gold in the Olympics. After getting, what does he do? He revels in it, isn't it? Again and again, he will run that videotape in his mind. Those last moments, the moments of tension, the moments of success, the moment of glory, all those things he will keep on. That is called as reveling. He revels. He is just waiting. Somebody should ask this question. How did you achieve it? He is waiting for such a question. And when somebody asks this question, especially some news channels with all kinds of cameras, etc. in front, some reporters, he's waiting, and any amount of explaining to thousands of people he's ready to explain without any kind of tiredness, without any kind of boredom, because he's talking something which he loves to talk about. Now this is called as Ramanam. Ramate, revels. But then, suppose he doesn't get what he wanted. Then, shochati. See that? Shochati. There is grief. This is exactly what happened when India lost semi-finals. All the cricket fans world over, there are tremendous amount of utsaham in the semi-final. But then something happened. Then what happened? Shochati. To the extent you have that desire, to that extent is the suffering also. They are the two sides of the same coin. You are so excited when you win, you go into depression when you lose. Shochati, sorrow. Then you badly wanted something. You got it. But then after that you came to know that it is not the source of my happiness, rather it is the source of misery. Then what happens? The very same thing or very same person become the source of hatred, dveshti. Love marriage. Everything was going on fine. Then after 1 or 2 or 3 years, divorce. The very same person whom you loved so much, now you just can't stand him or her. Dvesha. Now what are we discussing now? These are all the different emotional ups and downs experienced by a person who is loving the world, who has cultivated worldly love. The world is full of uncertainties. The world is full of perishable things and beings. If you give your heart to such a world which is so imperfect, this is what you are going to get. Vanchati, shochati, dveshti, ramate, utsahi bhavati. Ups and downs, ups and downs. Do you want such a miserable life? For some people, this is life. If your heart is filled with worldly love, this is definitely what you are going to experience. But now we are not talking of a person who has cultivated worldly love. Whom are we talking of? We are talking of a person who has cultivated divine love. So therefore, what is written there? Na is added for everything. Na vanchati, na shochati, na dveshti, na ramate, na utsahi bhavati. No, as far as this person is concerned, he is unaffected by all these ups and downs. He is a person who is totally protected. Because of his divine love, he is protected from all these ups and downs. All these uncertainties. He is totally protected from all these miseries. This is called a samsara. Samsara means constant change. Not only change is happening at the outer world, changes are happening at the body level, changes are happening at the mind level. So here what is discussed is the changes happening at the mind level. This is called a samsara. Samsarati iti samsara. Constant change. What is the problem with constant change? You cannot rest when there is constant change. When you want to rest, when you want to take a nap, when you want to sleep, what kind of place do you choose? A changing place or a changeless place? A changing situation or a changeless situation? In a changing situation, you need to be alert all the time. And when you are alert all the time, you cannot take rest. A man who has cultivated divine love, he is a man of total rest. He is a person who has mastered the technique of relaxation. He is a master idler. Right? Where does he relax? He doesn't relax in the world, because world is not the place where you can relax. Never. Impossible. Where does he relax? He relaxes in his own self. So there is a huge difference between a world lover and a divine lover. Externally they all appear the same. Physically no change. The whole change, the whole difference is at the mind level. Now, this verse says, na vanchati, no desire, no sorrow, no hatred, no reveling. So one may ask, what kind of life is this? It's a stoned life. No feelings at all. Is this the highest life? Or this is a dry life? Yes or no? If you see this. No desires, no reveling, no enthusiasm, neither plus nor minus. What kind of life is this? So therefore, in order to remove this doubt from the mind of the seeker, the next verse, verse number 6. Yat jnatva matto bhavati stabdho bhavati atma ramo bhavati. Yes, yat jnatva, knowing which, what happens? So earlier words may give a wrong notion in the mind of the seekers that this is a very dry kind of life. There is no happiness only. So in this sutra, Narada says, no. This is of supreme happiness. Now what is said here? Yat jnatva matto bhavati. He becomes intoxicated. Now what kind of intoxication we know? The worldly intoxication is drinks. And have you seen that? Now that's why this term has been used. You see, a person who is drunk, have you seen that person? The whole world may be shouting at him, scolding him, but as far as he is concerned, he is in the seventh heaven. He may be lying in the gutter, but what is his state of mind? It is absolute peace, no doubt about it. What an amount of peace he is experiencing, though he is lying in the gutter. Mattaha means intoxicated. He is totally totally out of the world. He has totally forgotten the world. That is a kind of bliss an intoxicated person experiences. Another aspect is, we have no entry into his world. We have no entry. He is in a world of his own. Now, as far as spiritual intoxication is concerned, it is different. It is not this type. So, when Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, there is one devotee called Girish Ghosh. You must have read his story. He was a drunkard. So one day he happened to come along with somebody to visit Ramakrishna. He did not have any faith and all. He just came because out of curiosity, people were talking about him. So he came to his room, satsang used to happen, kirtan used to happen, singing used to happen. And Ramakrishna, he will go to Samadhi. And when he goes to Samadhi, the whole body becomes motionless. His devotees used to hold him because he might fall down also. And how long he will remain there, nobody knows. Maybe hours together he can remain there. So this happened in front of his eyes. That here is a person who has lost the consciousness of the outer world. And he was just staring at him. After a few hours maybe, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa came down to the normal plane. He was waiting. Because for the first time in his life, he was seeing such a person. You know what the question he asked? When Ramakrishna Paramahamsa came down to this plane, Girish Ghosh, he was just staring at him with total disbelief. He asked, "Sir, what is the brand which you use?" Which is this brand? Because I also use certain brand and that effect goes away in 1 or 2 hours. But this, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa said, this is a special brand. It is called as Kali brand. It is called as Kali brand. And as far as the intoxication is concerned, he explained it in his language. For a drunkard, language of drunkard only has to be used. So that language was used. This is a special brand. Its effect remains the whole day. Number one. And number two, the intoxication is of such intensity that you will forget all the other brands of yours. And the best part, you don't have to spend even 1 paisa. It is free. And moreover, it is free from all kinds of defects which the other brands give. Yeah, as far as intoxication is concerned, all right. But after that what? It is said they are miserable after that. Ramakrishna said, as far as this brand is concerned, there are no side effects. There are no evil consequences. It is ever available. It is free. And the intensity is of such height, you will forget all the other brands. And believe it or not, Girish Ghosh later on became one of the greatest devotees of Ramakrishna. Mattaha bhavati. Intoxicated. In one place, Ramakrishna says this beautifully. He says, everybody is mad in this world. In this world, everybody is mad, intoxicated. Majority of them are mad after Kamini Kanchana. Very rare few are mad after God. Everybody is mad. Mattaha bhavati. Now this madness which we are talking of the intoxication born out of devotion for God. Mattaha bhavati. Next one, stabdha bhavati. What do you mean stabdha? Literal meaning of sabdha is being stunned. When you are stunned, then it's called a stabdha. We are not talking of that. Here stabdha means peace. Stabdha bhavati means he becomes peaceful. He becomes absolutely peaceful, silent. Stabdha means becoming silent. When does a person become silent? There can be very many reasons. Now what silence we are talking of is not the silence of ignorance, but the silence of wisdom. There is something called silence of ignorance. What is it? I don't know, so better don't let me not open my mouth. This is silence of ignorance. There is another silence. What is it? Silence of wisdom. Just like an empty pot is also silent, a filled pot is also silent, but there is a huge difference between the two silences, isn't it? There is a silence of hopelessness and helplessness. Nothing can be done. So therefore a person is silent. What about this silence? It is not the silence of nothing can be done. It is a silence of nothing need to be done. Because everything is so beautifully taken care by the Lord, I don't have to do anything. This is that silence. What happens when the mind becomes free from all kinds of confusions and delusions and doubts and questions? What happens to that mind? That mind becomes silent. What happens when all kinds of desires are gone from the mind? Cravings are gone, addictions are gone. What happens to that mind? That mind becomes silent. We are talking of such a healthy silence. There is an unhealthy silence also. We are not talking of that. When the person has no hope, he becomes silent. We are not talking of that helpless silence. We are talking of a healthy silence. He is so full with contentment, satisfaction, fulfillment, love, happiness, he becomes silent. When the love reaches ecstasy, that person becomes silent. We are talking of such a silence. Stabdho bhavati. What is the next one? Atma ramo bhavati. What happens to him? He becomes Atma Rama. Atma Rama means what? The one who revels in the self. His entire attention is riveted in the self. He is experiencing the bliss of the self. What is the nature of self? It is existence, consciousness, bliss. It is Ananda Swarupa. He is reveling in that Ananda. There is a difference of this Ramanam with that Ramanam. Sutra number 5, Na Ramate. That Ramate means what? Here is also Ramanam. Both are Ramanam, but what is the difference? There it is Vishaya Ramanam. Here it is Atma Ramanam. That person is called Vishaya Ramaha, not Atma Ramaha. There is a reveling. Both are reveling. One is reveling in the sense pleasures. The other is reveling in the self. So what is being said? Don't think this person is not happy. Arey, he is at the peak of happiness. This bhakti makes you infinitely happy. If the love is infinite, happiness also has to be infinite. Love and happiness, they go together. Whom do I love? The person who gives me happiness, I love, isn't it? To the extent somebody gives me happiness, to that extent I love. So there is a relationship between love and happiness. If somebody is giving me infinite happiness, how much will I have love for that? Infinite love. Now it is said, this love is parama prema, infinite love. So therefore, what must be the happiness? Logical thinking. If my love is infinite, it means the happiness also is infinite. And being Vedantic students, we know what does it mean, infinite happiness? It is a nature of the self. So therefore, this infinite happiness is gained when a person abides in the self. This abidance in the self is called Atma Ramanam. Such a person is called Atma Ramaha. Atma Ramo Bhavati. Another point which we have to keep in the mind is, so you'll find that the very same terms which the Jnanis are using, the Jnana Shastras are using, the very same terms are being used by Bhakti Shastra. So what does it mean? Jnana and Bhakti, they are one and the same. A Jnani is also deriving happiness from the self. A Bhakta is also deriving happiness from the self. So they are not two different paths. They are the one and the same. Only the language with which they are expressed, that is different. But basically it is the same thing only. So, these are all the benefits of developing devotion. As you practice devotion, all these things you will find. It is not that only at the peak you get all this. No. As you practice devotion, all these things, little by little, you start experiencing all these whatever has been said. Now, Naradji, please tell, what is the difference between worldly love and divine love? How are they different? Because both of them are love only. How are they different? That topic is taken up in detail. Let us chant sutra number 7. Sa nakamayamana nirodharupatvat. Sa, that devotion. What is the nature of that devotion? Na kamayamana. It is not of the nature of entertaining desires. Desiring is not its nature. Why? Nirodharupatvat. Its nature is preventing, stopping, renouncing. Nirodha means stop, prevent. What is the unique feature about this divine love? How is it different from the worldly love? This divine love, unlike the worldly love, prevents you from desiring anything else other than God. Na kamayamana. It doesn't allow you to desire anything. So what is his nature? Desirelessness is his nature. Unlike worldly love. What is the nature of the worldly love? It makes you desire. It makes you desire the world. Whereas this divine love is such, it puts an end to all kinds of desires. It takes you to desirelessness. Nakamayamana. It's a beautiful verse. Why it takes you to desirelessness? It takes you to desirelessness because there is nothing to desire. What you need is God. He is already there, so you need not desire. What you desire? That which you don't have, you have to desire. But that which is already there, should you desire it? Bhagavan is the very consciousness in you, is the very self in you. Do you have to desire it? Apraptaschet praptavyam, praptaschet jnatavyam. If there is something which you don't have, then yes, you have to gain it. You have to desire it and you have to gain it. But something which is already there, then you don't have to gain it, you just have to know it. So here, what does this bhakti do? It puts an end to all kinds of wanderings of the mind. What is this wandering mind? It is nothing but expression of desires. Mind wanders. Why? Mind wanders because it has desires. Thought wanders because of desires. You get into the world, become extroverted, all because of desires. What does this bhakti do? It puts an end to all desires. So what does Bhakti Mata say? My dear, you don't have to desire anything. What you desire is security, happiness, peace, etc. It is already there. Why should you desire? Shift the attention to the place where it is present. So what is the expression of bhakti? It makes you desireless. Nirodharupatvat. It prevents you. It makes you renounce all kinds of desires. It is just the opposite of worldly love, which makes you desire, which makes you entertain all kinds of desires. A person who has worldly love cannot keep quiet. Stabdo bhavat is impossible for him. Silence is unknown to him. Mind is all the time worried, anxious, desiring, craving. A bhakta becomes silent because the mind becomes free from all kinds of desires. Now this nirodha, this term, is further explained elaborately. That topic we will take up tomorrow. This topic continues for some time. Nakamayamana nirodha rupatvat. Om sarve bhavantu sukhinah सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। असतो मा सद्गमय, तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय, मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ। श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ।